Branching simulations recreate scenarios in which participants must make choices to advance. The choices may be optimal or very poorly considered, and effective simulations provide feedback to learners about their decisions. Complex simulations can offer multiple narratives dependent on the ramifications of choices. They can allow learners to explore the effects of certain decisions. Branching simulations can be used to illustrate many things: proper procedures for nurses, negotiation strategies, troubleshooting procedures, or anything that requires one to decide on a course of action based on fundamental principles. SoftChalk is not specifically designed to create simulations. However, you can employ bookmarks and hyperlinks in SoftChalk to create the simulation structure. Let's take a look at how that's done. Here we have a simulation based on the story of the Three Little Pigs. The first screen asks the fundamental question about what materials to use to build your house, offering the traditional choices of wood, straw, and bricks. So this simulation offers on each decision point 3 choices. Each of these choices will lead to another decision point with 3 choices, unless it's a terminal node where the simulation ends and one has the option of restarting the sim. Let's follow a path to see how it works. Confronted with the choice of wood, straw, or brick, I choose wood, just to be contrarian. Once I choose wood, I have 3 choices to obtain wood. Imagining myself with Mad Pig ninja skills, I choose option number 3. This leads me to a discussion of the effects of my choice, plus another set of options. With my Mad Pork ninja skills, I figure I can shoot out the lights, sneak in, and take that wood. Big mistake. Game over. If I had chosen to scavenge twigs and branches, my fate would have been very different. Each initial choice of materials sets the learner down a distinct path. This simulation is obviously not very rigorous. It's a farce rather than a true test of knowledge. Effective simulations would test the best practices you have outlined in a lesson. For each of the choices, you want to create a linked screen that offers feedback and presents new choices. I've named the screens after the type of material learners can choose: wood, straw, and bricks. Immediately after I name the page, I right-click next to the title and choose Insert, Other, Bookmark. I give it a name and click OK. You will see the bookmark icon appear. Now I go back to the screen with the 3 choices. I've inserted an image to serve as the link to the screen. I can right-click, choose Insert Hyperlink. This takes me to a menu where I can select the Choose Bookmark box. I find the bookmark I've just created. Now the image is a hyperlink. I could likewise choose text to do the same thing. On the bookmarked page, you can create feedback, either by commenting on best practices or by showing students what happens as a result of their choice. For example, you could show what happened when one of our pigs, dressed as a ninja, snuck into the lumberyard in search of wood. Ooh. In this instance, I simply want to add a new set of choices. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I find it easier to create bookmarked pages for each of the choices before going forward. Then I would have a single node with decision points as the foundation of my simulation. One of the difficulties you may experience is keeping track of all the connections. You could draw out the general structure on a piece of paper or in a mind mapping application on your iPad. But you may find that to be overkill if your simulation doesn't have a large number of divergent paths. I find that the best method is to create a bookmarked page for each option on a page, in order, and immediately create the hyperlinks. Then fill out the content of the bookmarked pages. This can help you organize your simulation structure. Some notes on simulations. Branching simulations can grow ridiculously unwieldy if you create completely divergent paths. Just do the math on only 4 decision points. If you have 3 distinct choices on each screen, you would then need to have at least 40 screens. In general, you want to limit the number of choices and decisions within each path. You may want to simply end the simulation after a couple of bad choices, for example, the patient dies, or return the learner to the optimum path through intervening. For example, the supervising nurse pulls you aside and tells you that you need to do something different. In the first scenario, the learner can start again and make better choices. In the second, the learner is instructed on best practices and allowed to continue. One of the keys to a successful simulation is providing the learners with realistic, quote-unquote, distractors, the choices that one can make which are not the optimum choice. Generally, you construct those distractors by thinking of how the learner would realistically respond inadequately in a given situation. For example, you've just gone over material about how not to micromanage employees. Now you give learners a scenario in which they have the opportunity, in fact, to micromanage employees. The trick is to provide a realistic scenario where the micromanaging response feels natural even though it's wrong. This will give you an opportunity to provide feedback on why the choice was not the best possible course of action. If you make the distractors unrealistic, then the learners will simply breeze through the simulation and not learn anything. Learners making mistakes is, in fact, an integral part of learning.